I don't have an answer. That's a conversation for another day.
We're guessing a lot of these things, and there's still so many question marks.
Yeah, actually,
like it's possible.
For you fine folks watching at home, what we just did was spend about 15-20 minutes while I troubleshooted mic settings, and Zach and Mira sang MGMT at me.
We had a long conversation about why I don't like Meghan Trainor's music. Then I talked about how it's funny. My roommate chat is talking about the new MGMT single right now. And then we just started singing Electric Feel for what must have been 10 minutes as Tom tried every single microphone in his house until one worked.
I found one.
All along the Eastern Front.
Welcome to
receive.
Welcome to technical difficulties with
no, that's Tom Scott's song. To shock you like you believe.
Ooh, girl.
Ooh, girl.
Shock me like an electric eel. Baby girl.
I'm going to go ahead and add this to the request for a supercut of the Interesting Nerd Club singing. We're doing elections today again. This one is the Great Council of 233. Someone give a brief something while I write stuff. Oh my god.
I'm nominating Zach.
So yeah, I'll give a brief summary. Right now we are in episode 2 of our...
my earphone shocked me.
Oh,
like an electric eel.
No!
Baby girl.
Bow, bow.
Tom, I'm sorry for turning your legitimate pain into a joke, but it was, in my defense, it was really funny.
I hope you don't come here for theories. I hope you come here for me dying.
No.
Oh my god.
If you die, then there's no more jokes.
What I'll do is I'll get access to your intro joke or intro bits document for your funeral, and I'll leave all of them for you.
Yes,
that'll be your eulogy.
This reminds me of a very like dark but also hilarious discussion that my mother and I had some years ago. We're getting estates settled like you do, and she was like, "All right, Thomas." This is one of the only human beings on the planet who calls me Thomas. She says, "Thomas, I need you to make sure that my gravestone says the following: beloved mother, sister, and friend, she will be missed. Spelled M-I-S-T. It will drive the family insane."
Okay, now I know where you get it from.
That's pretty good. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good.
That is very good. Tell your mother, give your mother my compliments.
That's pretty good. That's a good one.
I actually recently visited the grave of Gilbert Gottfried, who's one of my favorite comedians of all time. It is underneath the dates of his birth and death. It says "too soon."
Oh,
not that he died too soon.
He always made the joke is too like a joke that's too soon.
Yes,
Zach, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, that was inspiring.
Well, now that we've gotten that, I don't know, I might cut some of that, and
we kind of have to.
And we're back.
All right, Tom, I'll explain. We are in the second video. We are doing an exploration of all the elections that have taken place in A Song of Ice and Fire that we're aware of, that we have details about, which means all the great councils. We're going to talk about Jon Snow's Lord Commander election, and we're probably going to do we're also going to do the King's Moot, and we're probably going to do a roundup of all the ones we don't have a ton of details on and just talk about them a little bit. And I have claimed the position of I am going to defend all of them as legitimate, and said the only one I couldn't was our previous video, the first Great Council. We're at the Second Great Council, the one of 233 today. We're going to be talking about things that are weird about it, the questions we have, the concerns, and we're going to try and figure it out. And with me here is, as always, my co-host Tom, and our very, very good friend Mira Reeds is here as well. Oh, there we go. This is the direction I have to point. Tom's over here. Okay, excellent. And we are going to work through this election that leaves us with Aegon the Unlikely being the, king, the person who shall inherit the Iron Throne. So, without further ado, Tom, where are we starting?
I think that the best way to do this is chronologically. You know, we did the last one from a candidate's perspective, but we don't really get a view of the council, at least not yet. There's going to be a lot of speculation surrounding what happens there over the course of this video, and I think to get the perspective that we need on that, I think we should start with a timeline of events leading up to the Great Council of 233.
I 100% agree. And also, what was I going to say? We knew the principal candidates of the previous Great Council 101. Was it the year? Yeah. We knew details about Viserys Targaryen, Rhaenys Targaryen, Laenor Valerian. We knew pretty good information about all of them, and that could help us make informed decisions. The thing that's interesting about this Great Council to me is we know more about the people who aren't in contention and the people who died to make there be anything contentious than we know about the actual candidates. Spare the two that appear frequently in books, Aegon and Aemon.
Yes.
We don't know a lot about the spread of Aemon's life.
I can't flip and type here.
You can't.
Baelor Breakspear dies 209 AC. And you know what? We're just going to leave it there. That's what it's going to be. And it's going to be right there. And you can be a little bit smaller. Be a little bit smaller. There we go. There it is. Okay. There we go. That's fine. It might be a little too big. Actually, I think that's perfect. Somebody tell me how Baelor Breakspear died.
I actually just finished that book just a week ago.
Yeah, that's right. You have read that. You've been reading them.
I'm still on the Mystery Knight because it is controversial. Hot take: The Sworn Sword's my favorite by a country mile. Fight me in the comments. I respect someone. I respect someone who takes the least popular opinion. I say Country Mile. The Hedge Knight's really, really good, and I'll probably reread it before I reread The Sworn Sword. I like the message of The Sworn Sword. I feel like that distills a lot of George R. Martin ideals super well. But in The Hedge Knight at the end, there's Trial of Seven, something that we at this channel love to talk about, Trials of Seven. And in that massive fight, he goes to fight all the Kingsguard, knowing that they are sworn to protect people who might inherit, who are members of the royal family, and they can't legally hit him, basically, without breaking their vows. And then he is apparently struck a blow from his brother, Maegor Targaryen, and he's all fine and well, except he's bleeding, and they take his helmet off, and his skull comes off with it.
Oh, God.
And it's a doozy of a scene, and it's really, tragic when it's happening because everybody thinks he made it out just fine, and everybody loves and respects this guy. He walks in and he's one of the most cool and interesting characters George R. Martin has ever written, and he's there very, very briefly, and you get the sense he would be a good king, but he dies in a tragic, unnecessary fight that didn't need to happen, that was prompted by Arryn Brightflame attacking Puppeteer. Tom, say the line.
She wasn't too tall for me.
Yes. You could also set her name, but
don't worry, she's gonna come back up later.
Good.
Because I have this is the one I think that I have the most takes on.
That's good because I'm not sold on my own theory myself. So that's how Baelor Breakspear dies, and immediately it messes up the lines of succession. Mira, anything you want to add about Baelor Breakspear's death?
just that you said that he was like universally loved, and I think that's like mostly true. There's just a little asterisk that his father Daron was the one who married a Dornish woman, and so that created the peace with Dorne. And so there were some like very racist people that out of all the brothers, he looked the most Dornish. So there were some racist people who were like, "Man, he's not really a Targaryen, man."
Yeah, that is worth noting. And that if you're going to get conspiratorial about Baelor's death, you might want to talk about that. But I don't believe any Baelor Breakspear conspiracies. We see his death. It like if somebody wanted to like conspiracy theory there, they would have to know he was going to join that fight that he had no reason to join, that nobody knew was going to happen until it was happening. Tom says, "Grand, all things are possible."
In this case, with Bloodraven, all things are possible.
The same
like you don't think that Littlefinger can manipulate Jaime Lannister into hopping into a fight?
Not without 48 hours notice and a couple employees on site.
Baelor is less trigger happy than Jaime.
That is very true. That's very. I don't want to paint Baelor with that particular brush. But it like I think that like a word in the ear of Aerion could make that happen, because Zach, I think you and I discussed this somewhat recently. I love the Trial of Seven from like just from a literature perspective. It turns it into like we're going to talk about later. It turns into a political thing, right? Yeah. Aerion has no problem finding 6 knights to fight with him, but
he's a Targaryen. Yeah, he's part of the world. But he has a lot of rewards he can offer people. Dunk's a guy. Guy with a sword and like one capable horse.
Aerion, the scumbag, tries to win the match off the field by giving Dunk a technical DQ.
Yeah, it's because he knows if it's a 1v1, Dunk's tall and muscular and like actually kind of decent at fighting from everything he's seen. He might send in a champion, they get their ass kicked. So he's hoping to win the politics of it. Yeah.
Well, and if he sends Aerion's champion probably would have beaten Dunk, because Dunk is strong, but as we see multiple times, he's not necessarily weapons proficient. Especially in the first novella where he like was a squire 3 days ago. But Aerion would be admitting his own weakness by sending in a champion, because he is a strapping young man who's been trained to fight. And so he's not someone who's supposed to need a champion.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, not for nothing, nobody knows that he's not. All they know is that he walked up and immediately kicked the shit out of Aerion Brightflame. Not that he was expecting to be there, but if your opponent is somebody you don't know the true strength of, who's 7 feet tall, I can see that giving pause to some people.
Yeah. Like I've never seen this person in a fight, and he's enormous.
I don't need to know who Andre the Giant is to see him at a bar and say like, I'm not getting into a bar fight with that guy.
Yeah, if I can flatten the curve by getting 6 other people, I'm gonna try.
Let's hope that Andre the Giant doesn't have any friends at this bar.
Well, but see, that's my question though. Would you fight Andre the Giant if it was a sword fight and he wasn't allowed to like punch you with his fist? Like no wrestling,
Well, I for one, and I think that this comparison holds, I for one have never seen Andre the Giant sword fight.
And he had an opportunity in The Princess Bride and he didn't go for it.
And the only thing that Aerion knows about Dunk knows, Aerion knows 2 things about Dunk, that he is not a stable boy and that he is capable of breaking Aerion's teeth. Those are the 2 things he knows.
Yeah.
Oh man, they're so good. I'm so glad you're reading them, Zach. Do you see why they're my favorite thing in the fandom?
Yes, and in the Trial of Seven's perfect because the Faith of the Seven is really like That's the most Faith of the Seven anything George R. R. Martin has ever written is that book. I have a theory about it that we're going to probably do on the main channel. Well, this is the main channel, on the main series, I guess, without face cams, where I want to talk about the themes of the seven in there because I have a really neat theory. And it works really well. And questions about why the gods would let something happen are in it too.
Yeah. And it becomes really cool when you replace the word gods with Bran. Why would Bran kill a prince to save a hedge knight's foot? Wait,
This is like
it's
the
not
bicycle meme where you take a stick and throw it through the spokes and you fall off and grab your leg and say, "Why would Bran do this?"
It's funny. I was about to say it's like the Eric Andre shooting Hannibal Buress and then turning around like, why would Bran do that? Both are very relevant memes.
Oh God, I can't believe
put Maekar Targaryen over Eric.
Hey.
Put Baelor Breakspear over Hannibal Buress and Photoshop the gun out for a mace.
Chat.
Make us memes.
Can I get this, please? Can I get this?
We'll post your memes on Reddit.
I don't ask you for much. I need this one.
Actually, your Reddit accounts are probably bigger than ours.
Okay. All right. So he's dead. He's killed by Maekar. So up the line of succession moves Valar Targaryen. He's the one with the badass serpent, the badass dragon armor that Baelor ends up using. Two brief sidebars. Number one, many, as I say, many people, a contingent of people on the internet assert that Baelor Breakspear was assassinated on the orders of Maekar by using the Kingsguard to kill him, because no one seems to remember exactly what happened. And I think that is crazy, and I hate it.
We get a whole like paragraph worth of sentences from him as he's like getting the helmet off, and at no point is he like, those motherfuckers weren't supposed to hit me and they beat the shit out of me, which you think he would have said.
Yeah, he would have remembered that.
I remember what happened, and yes, he just took a serious blow to the head. But even though Dunk doesn't remember much of what happened, we do get a decent enough description of the fight from his perspective, even if it's very cloudy. And like Maekar says, I probably did deliver that hit to his head.
Yeah,
I don't remember doing it, but I was swinging at him, and it's possible I did, is what he says.
And the Kingsguard were only supposed to be defending Baelor. They weren't supposed to like strike at him. But so this is not going too off the rails. When brain surgery is performed on people, their brain isn't numbed, and so they're actually kept awake, and so they can like, you know, talk or play the trumpet or whatever it is they're supposed to be doing during the brain surgery, so that the surgeon knows they're not cutting something important. So I think the nerves inside the skull are fundamentally different than in the rest of the body. And again, I'm operating off of like, George probably knows about as much about biology as I do. Like, I'm a reasonably educated person, but my degree is in literature, you know? So I don't think it is outside the realm of possibility that, you know, in the fight, you have all the adrenaline going, all the, you know, blood pumping, testosterone going, the, you know, all that. Somebody is behind him, swings back before they swing forward, get him in the back of the head, and he doesn't notice in the moment. And because of the placement of the injury, he's not going to feel it necessarily either. You know, or like it's going to feel like a bruise. It's not going to feel like, oh, a piece of my skull is gone.
Yeah, like it's very common for people after receiving concussions to have no memory of getting the concussion. So like I love the way that scene is written, because there's just enough deniability, right? It's where it could feasibly be anybody in the conflict. Baelor is like, I'm pretty sure it was Maekar, and Maekar is like, I'm pretty sure it was me, but neither of them is fully confident. One of them is concussed, and one of them just killed his brother.
And when you realize that like Baelor Breakspear is kind of like a parallel to JFK, it makes sense. Like you look at everything that happens, the straightforward explanation makes sense, but there's gaps, and people immediately start making conspiracies about it that Maekar had a hand in it, even though from our perspective that looks very unlikely. And again, the things that would have to go right for like he would have had to known that Baelor was going to fight on the opposite side when he made up his mind about that roughly 5 minutes before the fight started. Or he would have had to like run over to the Kingsguard and say like, whatever ahead of time. You can paint a conspiracy theory there, but it requires so much going on. And you got to keep in mind that the like lords and peasants of Westeros don't know about time traveling Bran. And if somebody said that, they'd probably be like the village lunatic, even if they would be correct.
So I think there are conspiracy theories about like the aftermath. And so actually my follow-up question to this is going to be, who was George H.W. Bush in this scenario?
Goodness, was I mean, like if you look at the aftermath of this, there was clearly some politicking around it and trying to paint people with a brush and all that, because somebody just died unexpectedly and tragically, and there were some question marks around it. Politics and disinformation 101. You got to make that your enemy. Whoever you want to ruin the good name of, they're the person behind that death. And we know from the next two books that Bloodraven takes a hit from this, because a lot of people have reason to dislike Bloodraven. Politically, making him like the pawn of making Maekar the pawn of Bloodraven, who may or may not have done that for his own selfish reasons, works for the people who are trying to make Bloodraven into this tyrant who's controlling what's this? Is it Darren? Is it Darren? No, who is it? Who's king?
It is Daeron the second, and then Aera, and then Ares the first.
That's right. Yes. Ares the first is the one who sits and reads books all the time, correct?
Yeah.
Or
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well,
during his reign, everybody knows that.
Just hold on. Brief sidebar. We're still in the middle. We're still in the first thing on this timeline. So I'm gonna put down those two things while you're talking.
That's a good point. We know that from the second and the third novellas that there's great like political discontent, and it's also partially being drummed up by former Blackfyre sympathizers because they no longer have hostages after the Great Spring Sickness, which we also need to talk about for quite some time. It makes sense to advance a conspiracy theory when your goal is a war that deposes somebody. So you could argue that, what I would want to argue if I'm the Blackfyres here is Bloodraven knew that Baelor was going to stand up to him. So he made sure that Maekar killed Baelor so that a king who would be easier to puppet took place. And if you're talking about like parallels to real life conspiracy theories, that's often what people say when an assassination happens is they made too many enemies at the, so-and-so shadowy puppet master sort of ordeal. And that's exactly what the Blackfyres are accusing Bloodraven of being. Now, admittedly, considering it's Bloodraven, like, is there some truth to that? Maybe, but it's also probably not true that he's the one who, like, killed Baelor Breakspear, unless she was time traveling Bran, like Tom says.
Everyone is time traveling Bran.
That was a very long rant for me about internal conspiracy theories of Westeros. Does anybody else have anything to add?
I want to highlight that point because Maekar calls it out directly. He says they will whisper until the end of my days.
Oh yeah, yes, exactly.
And, like, just to put away that position that people take that Maekar killed Baelor, that speech of his is one of the most moving things in the entire series, where he says, I killed my brother. I know I did. I didn't do it on purpose, but they will say that to my face and behind my back until the day I die. And it's really heartbreaking and also really beautiful, and I like it a lot. And this series is good, you guys. I don't know if you knew this.
Yeah, I didn't. This is books I like.
All right, let me get us to the place we're at in the timeline. Okay, Baelor Breakspear dies in 209. Then between 209 and 210, the Great Spring Sickness kills Daeron II and both children of Baelor Breakspear. Daeron II is the current king. Baelor's two children are Valar, who we saw in the Hedge Knight, and Mataris. All three of them die, along with a whole shit ton of other people. Yes, sorry, Mir, go ahead.
Would you like me to share the screen with the tree so people can follow along?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
I don't know if it's gonna let me do. Yep.
I really like the turn of phrase they used, by the way. They died in the spring.
Yes.
I think that's just really these books are my favorites because of little things like that.
There's little repetitions and things like that, and it makes it feel very real. And the setting feels the most lived in this, and I think Feast. Like, it
I
feels
agree.
like imagine living in Westeros.
There are real people with regular people problems.
Yeah. You meet somebody who can't bother with all the politicking because the river that they get drinking water from is dammed, and that's the biggest ordeal they have going on. Or the farm isn't producing like it used to, or something like that. And that feels very, very real. And more book series need to have things like that. Oh no! Where did Mira go?
There she goes. Dunk and Egg are in Dorne at this time, by the way. That is extremely important because, like, I think that the number is something like 25% of the residents of King's Landing die during the Great Spring Sickness. And Dunk and Egg happen to not be around for that. Aerys the First becomes king in 209 AC following the death of Daeron II. Daeron II being the father, Daeron II being the father of Baelor, Maekar, Aerys, and some other people. Hang on, maybe I can get the
family tree. Yeah.
Hang on 1 second. I'm gonna switch over to this one. Hello, how are you, Zach?
Hello. Good. How are you?
Aegon the Fifth family tree. Would you poke Mira and see if she's died?
I just did. I already sent her the link again.
Perfect.
I don't know what's happening.
These things happen.
So you have a bad problem where whenever anything happens, I assume it's my fault. I don't know what I did. I'm sorry, Mira.
Okay, there's Aegon the Fourth.
Let me in. Oh, she's here. You have to
let me in. She has to say it like the meme.
Let me in.
What? I can't hear you. Say it. What? Say it one more time. Hello.
Let me in.
Let me in.
Eric Andre meme.
Let me in. We were doing the same joke.
I got it figured out now. The screen sharing.
Oh, okay. Can you screen share on your end? Because if not, I have the family tree over here, and I can wibble and wobble around if we feel like we need to.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, is it coming?
Yes. Add to stage, please. Hey, look at that.
Yay. So let's see if I can.
Oh, somebody uses Max.
Whoops.
Full screen layout, please. Oh, no, not that. Yeah, okay, cool. Perfect.
Okay.
I have in my notes here, by the way, Dunk and Egg were in Dorne at that time, playing a very successful game of Pandemic.
Yeah. They somehow just happened to end up in Madagascar right before they closed their ports.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that very convenient for them that they did that happened?
I mean, yes and no.
Isn't that one coincidence on its own?
Yeah, and if that was the only one, it wouldn't be weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you happen to be in South Korea during COVID, you lucked out because they were like the best country for that categorically. It's only weird when you also like dodge another 20 things that should have killed you or affected your life in a meaningful way, right?
There's drawing on this window.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Interesting.
It's not letting me do that with the original one. I can switch to the other one that I'm able to draw on. If we want to cross people out as they die, so people can keep track along with us.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to stop sharing that one, and I'm going to start sharing the other one. Window.
Bunk. Yeah. I might cut some of this out. I might not. We'll see.
Yep. Oops.
All right. Yeah.
Well, now the words aren't coming through as well, but
Oh, do we need? I'm sorry. Do we need? Oh, there. Yeah. There we go. Okay. We ready?
yeah.
Okay. So Baelor dies. We know this.
Yes.
Mhm.
I have here, by the way, sidebar. I learned that Egg's son was engaged to a young Elena Redwine. I did not know this, and I don't know why that's at this point in my notes, but there it is.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah, don't you yeah me?
Yeah. No.
Oh,
yeah,
I knew that.
also don't know why it's there.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
You motherfuckers. She says, quote, she was engaged to a dragon once, but she put a stop to that, which is interesting.
Yeah.
That she put a stop to that. She was engaged to Duncan the Small, who rode off with Jenny of Oldstones. But she said she says that she put a stop to that. She could also just be spouting nonsense.
She could be lying or misremembering,
Yeah.
but it could be a classic like this person is hitting on me and I'm not interested. I'm going to pass off my loneliest friend to them to get him to shut up.
Have you met my friend Jenny?
Have you met Ted?
Nice. Okay. So during the Great Spring Sickness, Daeron II dies. Valar dies, and Mataris dies. Right, and then we got Aerys the First next. Perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
While Egg and Dunk are in Dorne. And I'm going to, while you're doing that, Mira, I'm going to read some of the next bit. Over the next 12 years, Aerys the First names 4 different heirs. Rhaegal is the younger brother of Aerys and Baelor Breakspear. We have him in there in the middle, I think, just above Mycar. He dies. Would you like to know how he dies?
How does he die?
Choking on a lamprey pie.
That's sus.
Sure
That
is.
would be assassination.
Sure is. That doesn't seem right.
Notably, the only person we know who choked on a pie definitely didn't choke on a pie. As we established in the previous video, he died of rabies.
Yep, we only know.
So Aerys is king now?
Yes. Yep, Aerys the First is now king. Aerys the First never has any children.
And I don't think there's a conspiracy there. I think that man was like a hard asexual, aromantic even person who really just enjoyed the pursuit of knowledge.
Yeah, my dude was reading
much with it.
My dude was reading and someone was like, "Hello, you're king now," and he was like, "Fuck."
He also seemed like he was trying to like read a bunch of books and get smart for like the benefit of mankind. He was doing it like his own like scorekeeping system. Like, look at how many fucking books I can read. I read this.
Yeah, look at all these fucking books.
I know so much shit. I'm not going to do anything with it. Bloodraven can rule the whole realm, but look at how many books I can read.
So Rhaegal is dead. Rhaegal's son Aelor then becomes the Prince of Dragonstone.
Aelor?
Aelor is Rhaegal's son, and he's next in line for the throne. So that is, and I'll be marking this. You know, I don't think I need to mark this on my end. Like the conspiracy that we're going to be working toward works just fine without every piece of text. Rhaegal's son Aelor, after when Rhaegal dies in 215, he becomes the Prince of Dragonstone. He dies 2 years after Rhaegal. Quote, oh God, ready? Quote, slain in a grotesque mishap by the hands of his own twin sister and wife, Aelora, under circumstances that left her mad with grief.
Considering they're Targaryens and it's his twin sister, I have to imagine this was like a BDSM thing gone wrong. Am I wrong?
Okay. Have a good bye.
It's been fun, everybody. Goodbye. Anyway,
if you told me a terrible accident happened between a Targaryen and his twin sister, my first thought is, uh-oh. I know the one thing Targaryens are famous for.
Leaving their sisters out of the line of succession.
Yeah. If there's one thing Targaryens are famous for, it's incest. If there's two, it's dragons, and if it's three, it's extreme sexism.
Well, but that's what's interesting is part of the reason they do incest is to prevent the sexism. So, like Aegon the Conqueror married Visenya so that they would be king and queen together, and she wouldn't be cut out. That's why he was
King Jaehaerys disagreed with that whole feminism thing.
Right, because he didn't marry Rhaena. I want to do a video about this where I'm like, Jaehaerys should have married Rhaena after Aegon died.
All right, everybody. You heard it here first. Jaehaerys married the wrong family member.
Yeah. He could have.
There's a lesson to learn here. It's always marry the right sister.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. He could have married both of them. In fact, at that point in Targaryen history, there was more precedent for multiple wives than there was for single wives.
Right,
okay.
And
lesson here is marry all your sisters.
He was already doing the doctrine of exceptionalism. He could have just added polygamy along with incest, and then the whole thing with Rhaena could have been, because Rhaena would have been his Visenya, and good Queen Alysanne would have been his Rhaenys. There you go, problem solved.
I'm like, I'm sorry. Do you have a problem with my relationships? Please talk to my dragon.
Yeah.
It's really easy to have two doctrines of exceptionalism and weapons to back it up.
So Quote, sadly, Aelora eventually took her own life after being attacked at a masked ball by 3 men known to history as the Rat, the Hawk, and the Pig. And that's it. That's all the information that we get about whatever the fuck that event is.
What an insane turn of events! Because
they show up again, by the way. Okay. They appear later.
Where do they appear?
The Rat, the Hawk, and I think I have it written down. They appear later. They become like outlaws, I think. They like carve out half of a kingdom, I think. It's very strange.
Yeah,
especially considering
that is incredibly strange. And it's a masquerade party. This has to eventually be a future Duncan Egg novella, right?
It has to be, right? I've never seen
that much insane detail, but also not detail, unless you're going to write about it in the future.
Like it's really one of those like the this event is too grotesque to write about here, and they just move on.
And it's like, if the Baelor like death is explainable in some way, shape, or form, this one sure isn't. There's a lot going on here. If somebody tries to assassinate you and then you yourself finish the job, that's rare. Unless she was like severely wounded and didn't want to continue on, but they don't say that, so we can't assume that. Like, it's so strange that the assassins failed and then she took her own life anyways. It almost seems like Assassin Round 2 was successful.
It reminds me, spoilers for House of the Dragon for the next 60 seconds. All right, spoilers for House of the Dragon for the next 60 seconds.
Your fault if you watch.
This reminds me of the scene that we all know that we all think about, right? The scene in the books. Right. There's like 3 scenes in Fire and Blood that everyone knows, and this is one of them. There's some very strange similarities. There is circumstances that left her mad with grief, and then being attacked by men who history does not remember the names of, and then an apparent suicide. All of these things line up with the story of Helena and Alicent.
Yeah.
I don't know that means anything, but
so this is where we get the interesting, like, who is getting her out of the line of succession and why, and how long after it was. So only did I 2 years after. So okay, so that gets rid of the possibility that she was killed because she was pregnant with like Aelor's child, right? If Baelor had been dead for 2 years and they didn't want him to have an heir, we can write that out. So she was killed for some other reason if this was an assassination and it has anything to do with the conspiracy, which is fascinating.
Sidebar. The wiki states that Aelora became the Princess of Dragonstone following the death of Baelor. I was not able to find corroboration for that in the books. So it may be the case that it may be the case that I missed it. It may also be the case that was inferred by the number of heirs that are listed on the wiki.
Yeah.
In the book rather. But the name Aelora appears in the books exactly 2 times, and both of them are in those horrible sentences there.
Yeah.
My instinct.
There's so much we could spend a whole episode talking about what the hell happened here.
Yeah.
Although we just don't have anything to go off of.
My instinct
definitely be a big book in the future.
My instinct is that Aelora was not Princess of Dragonstone, and instead that her son was Prince of Dragonstone. Her son, who was killed surrounding the events that are happening here.
That could be the case if there was an assassination attempt that ostensibly was on her, but like killed her like young, like toddler age child, and then she was mad with grief again. Especially if that was the last connection to her twin brother / husband, who was the father of the child. I could see that causing her to legitimately like end it all. But again, we don't have evidence that kid even exists.
I have none of this, no idea about any of this.
We also don't even know if they were like married or like into each other at all. We're just inferring that because they're Targaryens, and that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Here is the other quote we get. Quote, Prince Daeron brought to his father Aegon V an altogether deeper sort of grief when he was killed in battle in 251 AC, leading an army against the rat, the hawk, and the pig.
Huh?
Excuse me, what the fuck?
Whomst?
I'm going to run that by you guys one more time. Brought his father, Aegon V, an altogether deeper sort of grief when he was killed in battle in 251, 35 years later, leading an army against the rat, the hawk, and the pig.
That puts a serious age cap on how old they could have been during that attempted assassination. Because if they were all in their 40s, they're going to lose that battle. Unless they have a really good like army behind them. Like 75-year-old knights are not going to last very long against Daeron Targaryen and whoever he brings with him, right?
And who's going to be like, who needs to be taken out by an army? You know, if, like, if these is just like 3 guys, like why do you need a whole army?
Exactly. You don't lead an army against people who don't have an army or a castle.
And if you're related to the king, you don't. If it's 3 guys, you just need one person to tip you off where they're at, and then to wait while they're sleeping, and then you march in with 5 guys and stab them all to death in their beds. It's pretty easy. It's like state use of violence 101. Wait until they can't do anything to stop you. So classic way to whack people is wait until they're in bed.
Way to whack people.
It's the way to whack people, yeah.
During this time, also, and this I do need to write down. Aerys the First names Bloodraven Hand of the King. My dude is Hand of the King for so long.
Yeah.
Yes.
There we go.
What year is that?
That is in I don't believe it is specified. It is sometime during his 12-year reign. So between 209 and 221. Presumably relatively early. Yeah. I think he is Hand of the King during the events of the Sworn Sword. Zach, can you confirm that?
Yeah, that is someone who's just reread it.
Yeah.
He is getting blamed for things at that point. He is definitely getting blamed for things in the Mystery Night, and the Mystery Night takes place not all that long after the Sworn Sword.
Yeah, so he's getting blamed for things in the Mystery Night and does deserve them in that one.
He's there to dispute it. Sorry. Sir Maynard Plum might dispute that.
Yeah. By the way, this says Aerys the First names Bloodraven Hand of the King to the disappointment and displeasure of Mycar.
So I want to jump back to these 3 unknown assassins. Apparently, who the hell could they be that they're still like active? And could it be like a Mantle situation, right? Could it be like a Dread Pirate Roberts sort of thing?
Well, I don't fucking know. The War of the Ninepenny Kings happens like 2 weeks after that. It's insane that this is right here. You know, the War of the Ninepenny Kings starts in what, like 265 or something, and this is in 251.
War of the Nine. That up.
This is a continuation of a conflict that this is a continuation of a conflict that involved an assassination attempt on a king or a queen.
was Jaehaerys the second who was king? Because Nine Penny Kings was after Summerhall, which we might talk about in this video.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, we've got a lot still.
But the rat, the hawk, and the pig is a continuation of a conflict that involved political assassination attempts. This conflict lasted at least 30 years, and we, the reader, have never even heard about it. We've never even heard about it. It gets 2 lines. What is this? Who are these people that the crown prince led an attack against and died? I don't have an answer. That's a conversation for another day.
we're guessing a lot of these things, and there's still so many question marks.
Yeah, actually,
like it's possible we're taking it on faith that Aelor did die in a mishap that Alora had something to do with. It's possible he was assassinated too. We just don't have the evidence for that. Alora, there's this like sketchiness is a lot louder. But this is all really sketchy that so many people, like, if they all died of the spring sickness, I'd accept that. It's just like that was a really bad pandemic, and Dunk and Egg were very, very lucky to be in the one really safe place from it. But no, multiple of these people are dying under suspicious circumstances. One of them chokes on pie. And you know what? If everybody died of disease and one person choked on pie, that still doesn't make a conspiracy. This starts to look weird.
It's looking strange. It's about to look a lot stranger. The book says Prince Daeron and Prince Aerion died before Maekar, both with children. I do not believe that it is listed when Daeron dies. Of course, in 221. Yeah, in 221. Maekar ascends to the throne because Aerys dies. Maekar becomes king. 221 AC.
I'm on Darian the Drunken. I'm torn. It could be that he was, he treated himself like, kind of shit. He was constantly drinking, and that will kill you a lot faster the way he's doing it. And there's also but he could still live like that for quite some time, and there'd be political incentive to make sure that he never, ever ends up on the throne. So I'm kind of torn about his death. I wouldn't be surprised with either option. I don't know what y'all think.
I find it suspicious that we never get a cause of death.
Yeah, if it had said cirrhosis of the liver, I'd be like, okay, yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, he was really stress testing that thing. But meanwhile, we just have nothing. And if he died falling off of a horse, I would think somebody pushed him.
Daeron and Aerion both die before 233. Because we don't know when Daeron dies. We just know he dies. Bunk. And that is the setting. Aerion has a child. We know this. This child is Maegor. Daeron also has a child. This child is Vaela. This child is born in 222. And you ready for the fucking fishiest thing in this whole system? This whole thing? When discussed surrounding the council, Vaela is described as simple. And that is 100% of all the characterization we get for her, and she is written out of the committee. Bye.
We don't know the extent of that. That is one word we're given. It implies that she might have been, having some sort of developmental disorder, but, maybe ? She could have also been simple in the, she likes, a breakfast of, toast and one unseasoned hard-boiled egg. We don't know. They gave us one adjective.
Hard-boiled egg. Sorry.
Ooh.
No, it's just yeah.
Oh no.
Oh no, what happened? We okay?
Oh,
we
I
alive?
just, yeah, we're good.
The circle.
The circle accidentally filled in.
Yeah, Viola, daughter of Daeron. Oh, this looks good. All right. And Maegor, the son of Aerion. Perfect.
Yeah.
King Daeron dies sometime before 232 of something. We don't know. Aerion dies in 232, ostensibly by drinking wildfire.
But
we have discussed that really doesn't seem like it is the case. You know?
Also, it's almost like if I believe in something Michael talks about stuff has done a video on, which is it seems like Melisandre drinks wildfire and she's fine. Now, of course, you could also argue Melisandre is a fire white that is fueling the inner fires of herself, but sure, there's an argument to be made for that too. Him drinking wildfire might not be what killed him. And also, that could just be a lie. That could just be propaganda that comes back in order to invalidate the claim of Maegor.
Yeah.
It could be like, because I don't necessarily believe the drinking wildfire is safe, but like if he was convinced of that, that like it's not something that would have just occurred to him on his own, but like if somebody very wise and educated, like a maester, suggested it.
Said actually it looks like Targaryen blood kind of works well with wildfire.
Yeah.
I don't know, bro. Go take a swig.
The maester told you to use it intravenously.
And if I wanted to assassinate Aerion Brightflame, doing it in exactly the same fashion as Khal Drogo killing Viserys II. I'm sorry, Viserys III.
Yes.
But with wildfire instead of molten gold. Sure does make it look like he died drinking wildfire.
Yeah.
Well, in 233 AC, Maekar the First Targaryen dies. He dies quelling a rebellious lord in the Dornish marches. Sus?
Could be because that's where the Vulture Kings are, right? It's in the Dornish marches, so it could be a recurrence of that. If that's also sort of a mantle, right? It could be that some lord who's dissatisfied takes up that mantle. Again, sparse on information here. Rebellious lord in the Dornish marches. Not a lot of people live in the Dornish marches. They're famously inhospitable.
I'm out here like Maekar, my guy. What are you doing? You are the king. What are you doing? Get the fuck out of there. Why are you quelling?
Yeah, but he's Maekar. He's the anvil.
That's true. None of that is a lie, but that doesn't make it less stupid. And then
there's the Karens are the lords of the marches, but they don't have full rule over it. I'm just trying to guess who that could be. It's House Karen, House Dondarrion, House Selmy, and House Swan are the ones.
Oh my god, what if it's the fucking Selmies?
It's the House Selmies? And even then,
oh my god, what if he dies to like a 3-year-old Barristan?
It'd be funny.
I feel think like it's the Dondarrions.
The Dondarrions makes the most sense, yeah.
And you know what? That's set up fairly nicely in the Mystery Knight because Manfred Dondarrion plays such a role in that story. I'm sorry, in the Hedge Knight. Right, Manfred Dondarrion is one of the people that Dunk appeals to more than once. Oh my god, maybe Dunk's there. Maybe Dunk's there and sees the Dondarrions trying to rebel. Maybe that's why the Dondarrions are. Maybe that's why the history of the Dondarrions in the current series is sort of cloudy, because this event is going to Yeah, that actually kind of tracks for me. I don't know about you guys.
What was Sir Arlen doing for the Dondarrions prior to the Hedge Knight?
Sir Arlen fought in he was in the main attack force in Lord Dondarrion's father's host, if I recall correctly. I hope that clears it up. I know how non-specific that is.
Yeah.
All right, I have, and to finish all this wonderful background we have, in 233, Brynden Rivers, Hand of the King, calls a council, quote, rather than risk another dance of the dragons. Brynden. That's what got us in this mess last time.
Also, what Dance of the Dragons is got there? You have 3 children. Aegon's a little bit older here, and a maester who is presumably more interested in staying a maester than becoming king.
Yeah,
we don't know that for sure. Although notably, Aemon never once complains in the main book series that he was, I was gonna be king. You'd think he'd be bitter about that shit if he had it stolen from him, right? I was this close. I was the rightful heir. Never once. He's totally chill about it. In fact, he remembers his brother fondly for the most part.
Well, okay. So I've drawn red lines through suspicious deaths. Maekar dying in a fight to me is kind of like Baelor dying in a fight. Like it's not that suspicious. And then I put a green circle around potential candidates for king in 233. Who do we have here not circled and alive?
Yeah, who's gonna dance the dragons this shit? Right? Who's gonna start a war?
Yeah. Both of his sisters are alive. We allege that one of them married
Lady Hightower.
Leighton Hightower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I believe I'm actually very confident that they are literally never mentioned in the proceedings here.
Yep.
I am so confident in that because I literally forgot about their existence until you pointed at them on this page.
Yeah, I'm like,
and they
look who doesn't have a through them.
And they discussed the claim of Vela, which means that women were considered for this. So, which means somebody specifically there must have brought up Vela as the first option.
Right.
Which means somebody was fighting for her cause.
Oh my God. And if one of them married a Hightower,
it would literally be a repeat of Dance of the Dragon. Yeah.
It would. It would. A female claimant with a strong claim higher in the line of succession, with a very powerful, very wealthy family behind them. Yeah. That's Rhaenys exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dang.
That would totally be another So
Rhaenys, I think, even in this situation, is kind of like Vela of like the daughter of the eldest son. And so these, I think, are more like Rhaenyra versus Aegon, but it's all the same. It's the woman being passed over. And so and like, not only are the sisters not considered, but like Aemon doesn't mention them at first. He says something about Aegon being the fourth son of a fourth son. Aegon was the sixth child, but the fourth son.
That makes this so much fishier.
Mm-hmm.
Because this,
Yeah,
am I
'cause
correct in saying that the Dance of the Dragons is in living memory still? It's
I don't
no,
think
it's like
so.
110 years ago.
Yeah, because the dance is happening up here.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
just about exactly 100 years ago.
It's to the point like people would remember their parents having like talked about it or served in it. It's like that generation born right after World War II. I guess it would be the boomers.
Yeah, because
They remember their parents' war stories and how like harrowing it was for them, but they have no personal connection to it.
yeah,
So
like Bloodraven's grandfather was a child when the dance was happening.
It's in living memory in the same way that World War I is in living memory.
Yeah.
Technically, but not actually.
Yeah.
I would say World War II, people who are older right now, their parents served in it. Baby boomers are still alive in an important part of our like culture right now, and they remember their parents remembering that war. But very few people actually. World War II is even, World War I. I don't think we have any survivors left, so that's another good comparison. It's a little bit of both, I would guess. But
yeah, well, because like, you know what? I'm not going to talk about Kissinger. We're moving on.
We can't. We're not doing it. We're not doing. That's a different podcast.
Different podcast. I would love to
Well,
be
I
on
was just going to say
Not on it
that because my grandmother-in-law passed away a couple years ago at the age of 100. She was born in 1921.
Wow.
Yeah, so like she remembers World War II or did 2 years ago. But it's not many people. You know, it's kind of like Aemon is our weird outlier in Song of Ice and Fire being 103. Like most people just aren't 103.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I got a good one for you here. Ready for this? With both of Mykar's eldest sons deceased, there were 4 principal claimants. Those 4 are Viella, Maegor, Aemon, and Aegon. All of those options kind of suck, except Viella and Egg, right? Viella and Egg are the only 2 viable options here, right?
And you're breaking some like Aemon has to give up being a maester, and famously being a maester means giving up your claims to as far as we know.
Yeah. He's a non-starter, right? He can't do it.
How old is Viella?
Viella is 11. And Maegor, I can understand the argument against Maegor. Maegor is 1 right now.
Maegor is 1 and has never lived in Westeros.
No, see, we talked about this. We talked about this last time. We fucking talked about this last time because I was in the same position that you are. I thought that Aerion spent the rest of his life outside of Westeros, but he doesn't. He comes back and he serves as an advisor to at least Aerys, presumably Aerys and Mykar. It's nuts. It's nuts, dude.
Interesting. So,
and isn't it a little weird that he predeceases his father by like 6 months?
Yeah, the timing's perfect. That is, now we're getting into more sus territory. So,
but one final note on this quote: Daeron's sweet but simple daughter Viella was dismissed immediately. Unquote.
Which means somebody brought her up, because somebody doesn't bring up Dunk's sisters, or not Dunk's, Egg's sisters. Aegon's sisters there have just as much claim as Viella, and nobody's there fighting for their cause. Who was Daeron the Drunken married to? Do we know?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a very good question.
Let's see. Daeron, son of Mykar.
Oh, we have a spouse. Kira of Tyrosh.
Kira of Tyrosh, huh? Oh, I saw her. She was married to Valar, and then Valar died, and she married Daeron instead.
Yes.
Which is insane, by the way.
Also, people claim that her children were magically murdered by Bloodraven, which would be an insane conspiracy theory if it was about anybody other than Bloodraven. Yeah, Baelor died of the Great Spring Sickness. She married Prince Daeron the Drunken. They had one kid. We don't know what happened to her. Is it possible that there were like Tyrosh people present to make the argument on her behalf? Or was it potentially, were they getting ahead of like a political thing, right? Would somebody in Tyrosh want to push that claim? So they wanted to put on paper a reason. And then since nobody was going to push the claim of the other two, they just said, no need, right? We're going to send a we're going to send a raven to Tyrosh saying, sorry, Vela was not chosen to rule because she's too simple, right? And then the other two doesn't matter.
There it is. Problem solved.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely explanation. There are people in Tyrosh who could have backed the claim if it hadn't been dismissed, and they wanted to do something political to dissuade them from doing that. So, she had a chance at a council that you weren't invited to, and we all unanimously agreed she wasn't allowed. Good luck pressing that claim. I could see that. Another thing you don't know here is who attended this great council.
Yeah, we have no idea. That's why I think that I'm glad we're doing this one in this fashion. We'll return to the like elections analysis in the next one because we have numbers for the next one. But yeah, for this one, we have we don't even have something to sink our teeth into.
We knew who attended the 101 or at least how well attended it was, so we could make some assumptions. It could be that this one had considerably lower turnout and was functionally a group of people willing their desire into law. And that's why I say I have no doubt about the vote totals on this one. I have no doubt that everybody there legitimately thought Aegon is our best option. It's just whether they did it under circumstances that precluded other people from showing up.
I think that I dispute this. I think that I dispute this actively because one of the major through lines. So the way that the World Book talks about this is it really dismisses it, right? It says, quote, it says Prince Aegon was the obvious choice because Aerion's kid is obviously crazy. Baela is simple. And
the Aerion we see isn't like obviously crazy.
He's just an asshole.
Incredibly cruel and like would probably be a bad king, yes, and his cruelty spills over sometimes, but he's not like if this is a presidential debate, he's not like trying to eat the podium. Like he can go up there and say things. They might seem unhinged to somebody who knows the policies, but like I can imagine Aerion giving a compelling speech to a like angry crowd and really like whipping them up. That's not like insanity in the definition that we like, say this person needs to go to an asylum for. We might call that person insane in a political context, but that's certainly not like the Aerion we see.
Like, why in the hell did we need a council for this?
Yeah.
Because the way that the World Book presents it, there are 4 claimants and 3 of them are non-starters. So you say, all right, Egg, we're going to make you king, and we're going to wed your eldest daughter to Aerion's kid. Okay? Go nuts. Goodbye.
Yeah. And if we were...
Who cares? Like, why are we even doing this? That's the way that the World Book presents it. So I think that there are serious problems here that the book does not express. I think that the hint we have is that the World Book consistently talks about how a lot of lords didn't like Egg and didn't support him because of his support of common folks.
Yeah. But then again, he's up against a bunch of lightweights for this Grand Council. So it's not like we don't have any reason why somebody would be like a hardcore Maegor supporter. But also, legitimately, if we're talking about the rules of inheritance, Maegor is the rightful heir here. Like, there is actually no dispute whatsoever There is no, like, we have to interpret the rules differently. Maegor is the eldest son of the person who would have been heir otherwise. If we include a daughter, he's not the heir, but we had a whole war about this. We decided retroactively daughters can't inherit. So there is no scenario in which this is confusing whatsoever. This is exclusively to make sure Maegor does not inherit, and it works. So why did it work if Egg wasn't that popular? If people had concerns about Egg? Because sure, they could have concerns about a 1-year-old, but the wonderful thing about a 1-year-old is they don't know jack shit. So you could raise them and keep an eye on them. And if he looks like he's crazy, you can make the decision then. Why would you throw out the possibility that maybe this kid isn't as like cruel and kind of crazy as his dad was, when literally anyone can raise him?
I have an answer.
Okay, I want to hear your answer.
I would like to wait for Mira to get back, because I think it's pretty good. But before we move on to that, we have failed to mention that a 5th claimant appeared late in the proceedings.
And I have a second additional theory here, and this is crucial for it. There is a 5th person who shows up, and it's the worst decision they ever make in their life. Because
that person is Aenys the First Blackfyre.
Yes, who shows up to say, "Hey, I have a claim to this throne," and Bloodraven says, "Lamau, no, you don't."
You guys, I'm so excited. I have 2 theories that I think are pretty close to original. One is a riff on the last one that we did. So let's talk about it. Zach, you said if like it appears that the succession should be fine, right? It appears that it should just go to Maegor, and there really shouldn't be any question about it. Yeah. And that the Great Council appears to have been a coup. So how did they do it if Egg was unpopular because of his positions on Smallfolk? Egg was it appears very unpopular among most lords, given the way the rest of his rule goes. I think that he employed the same tactic that Otto Hightower did. I think he stuffed the ballot boxes. And I think that all of these wonderful, beautiful character profiles that we are getting over the course of the Dunk and Egg novellas are going to resolve at the Great Council of 233 with all of these people that Dunk and Egg have made friends with showing back up. He calls on them when he needs them, and they show up and vote for him.
I mean, I wouldn't even call it stuffing the ballot boxes. That's just a good turnout campaign. It sounds like he just, he just ran a good campaign, and they're saying he cheated because he won. And I get
everyone. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I feel for your Egg. Trust me. Suffering from success.
I love this so much. This is a riff on what we were doing last week. This is one of the most wonderful things that ever occurred to me. Zach, you just read The Sworn Sword. Can you tell me some characters from The Sworn Sword, please?
Sir Eustace, who has the conflict with forgetting her name.
Lady Weber.
Lady Weber, the Black Widow.
Rohanne Weber.
Lady Weber, who, by the way, sidebar, would go on to marry a Lannister.
Oh yeah.
And whose children with that Lannister would fight alongside Egg and Dunk and Egg's kids in a Blackfyre rebellion. And sidebar, we'll come back to it. Don't worry about it. That's not on the table for today. Who else is in that book, Zach?
Who else shows up in that book? There's the Septon who farts a lot.
Yep.
It's a character.
Yep. Keep going. There's more.
There is more. There's the oh goodness, what's his name? The other night.
Fuck that guy. Not him. Fuck
that
him.
guy sucks.
Fuck
That guy
Bennis.
does.
Fuck Bennis.
Bennis is Brownwater.
I think it's Brown Shield, but yeah, Bennis is the Brownwater. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
Oh, Bennis is the Brown Shield. Yep.
Come on, Zach. Anyone? Come on. One more character. Give me one.
There's quite a few. Who are you looking for? Because I'm missing.
All the Pates?
I want you to imagine all the Pates, all the Watts, all those motherfuckers. These assholes, 20 years later, Egg rocks up and he says, I'm so glad that we called this council. I have the votes. And Sir, let's see, what did I write down here? Sir Watt of Watt's Wood, Sir Watt the Wet, and Sir Watt of Barleycorn, all landed knights, show up and get fucking votes. And it's Steely Pate from the first book.
Yeah.
Shows up. Yeah.
Wait. I was thinking about Rohanne Weber.
Right?
Oh, hang on. We'll come back to Rohanne Weber. Hang on.
Any knight can make a knight, and honestly, I wouldn't even consider that cheating. I think, like, if you want to make an argument that those people deserve to be knighted, I think Dunk would say they did their duty well, and is that all it takes to be a knight? What it takes to be a knight is a huge theme of the books, anyways. So
that is my prediction. Given what we talked about last week, that is my prediction for how the Great Council of 233 will go. It will be like no wonder all the lords are pissed at Dunk for his position on Smallfolk. He keeps giving them their land.
That's true.
He gave Steely Pate. Hello, you are now Lord Pate. You are now Lord Pate of Steel Helm. I tried really, really, really hard to find a lineup of a descendant of a landed knight from this time, a Pate, a Watt, a Lem. I tried really hard to find one, and I found some that could fit, but none that was conclusive. Sidebar: this is not important. Watt, Will, and Pate are all characters in the Sworn Sword. They are also all characters. They are also all orphans at the Heddle Inn at the end of the Crossroads, in the fourth book, which is just a weird lineup. All right,
it is a weird lineup. Can I jump in with my theory here?
Hang on. Mira, what do you got on Rohanne Weber first?
So she married Gerald Lannister later on, but she was married to him and had 2 children and disappeared mysteriously in 230. So she had already been married to him. I mean, it must have been by 225 if she had 2 kids with him. So
what do you mean she disappeared mysteriously?
Lady Rohanne disappeared under mysterious circumstances in 230 AC, less than a year after giving birth to Jason.
God damn it, George.
Damn it,
George. Really? She disappeared under mysterious circumstances, huh? God damn it, George. Maybe she just went and is like living in the White Tower with Dunk.
But so I have a couple of questions, like, because I'm still stuck on Egg's sisters.
Yeah.
So the Dornish are now participating in the council. Last time they weren't. So people who would want the sisters to inherit, I mean, I would imagine would be the Dornish. Lady Rohanne, I'm sure, would support the sisters' claims. She might.
it's interesting and weird that Egg, who we love and is wonderful, because this would imply very heavily that he is intentionally usurping them.
Yeah. And he didn't like his sisters. He was like, yeah, one of them tried to give me a love potion.
That is true. He's also a little shit.
Yeah, he's also a little shit and young.
He is a little shit.
You're supposed to be arguing with your siblings all the time when you're his age. It just happens.
But a lot of Targaryen boys, got along with their sisters just fine.
Oh,
Some
don't say that.
Well.
but like even as children, like at an age where you would expect siblings to be like squabbling and stuff, so it.
I think that this speaks to one of the principles of the series as a whole, but especially Dunk and Egg, that a person can be whatever a person chooses to be. Egg is what, 11, 12 in the Mystery Night, something like that. And it is not yet clear whether he is going to grow up into Baelor Breakspear or grow up into Aemon. And I think that there is an Egg that grows up to usurp his sisters very intentionally and maliciously, and I would find that character heartbreaking but extremely interesting.
I have a different take on this, if you don't mind me ranting here for a second. This whole thing, in my opinion, is Bloodraven's last dance. He knows he can't hold on to power forever without like somebody challenging him. He knows that he's getting a lot of flack for some of the things that have happened, and he calls this great council with the intent to pick basically his own successor. And then since he knows this is probably the end of his career anyways, he kills one last Blackfyre for the road. And honestly, that completely tracks to me.
But this is you mean this is his last dance before his planned career change?
He knows he's getting ousted one way or the other. He does it on his terms. And when he gets sent to the wall, that was like either baked in or, he's like, well, now time for me to gain power somewhere else or something like that. It's possible he meant to go somewhere else and was shocked by that. But I think that he realized his 10 years hand to the king had a lot of controversy behind it. He realized that if he like transparently held on to power, that'd be difficult, but he could ensure he gets an heir in there that he likes, has some confidence in, and then hopefully he could worm his way into another position. Maybe he was shocked when he got sent to the wall, or maybe he knew that was likely going to happen anyways, or that he was going to be out of power. So he really just said, well, a Blackfyre showed up. Well, I'll kill him because I'm going to be leaving anyways. And I get my intended heir, and nobody can blame all the realm's ills on me anyways. And that's what I think, that if he was the hand of the king and he called called this great council, he could have intentionally like tipped people off ahead of time, make sure you clear your schedule. And then he sends this out to other lords and they get, last minute notice. Hey, there's a vote going to happen. Thinking about turnout, if these people, didn't have a plan to vote early, they're less likely to show up, especially if you have to travel like multiple days by, horse. If you give everybody like a week to show up, some people might not be able to make it. If you do 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe they can. Month, maybe they can. But if you tipped off 20, 30, 40 of your closest allies beforehand, you go in with a serious advantage. And then, of course, you make sure there are other candidates there. Because again, Maegor is the one who's supposed to inherit. But since you don't know if he's going to continue on your ideas, your policies, because he's one and fucking anything can happen, you pick the one who's basically like a teenager right now, or how? No, he's older than that. How old is he when this happens?
He is in his 30s. Yeah, he's like really? 32.
Okay, yeah. You go for the one you've known since as a child, and you know roughly what he's like as an adult, and you pick him 100% of the time, because well, that's just the correct answer from your perspective if you're Bloodraven. I know the one most likely to carry on the realm as I see it is the one who's 32 and had met a bunch versus the 1-year-old who might be controlled by my political opponents. And I think the only thing that's sketchy here is that a great council happens at all.
Yeah.
I think if you
right, that's the rub, isn't it?
Yeah. If I'm a lord sitting down and my options are a child who I've been told is simple, a child who I've been told might be insane and is also literally an infant right now, a maester who's uninterested, and a guy who I might not like but is the right age and is competent, you don't have to push me too hard to vote for Egg, even if I don't like him. It's he's the only capable candidate there. And when you look at this election, it looks a lot like something happened beforehand to get here. Is a joke I made before we were recording was, I'm not surprised when the kind of popular governor from a small state wins when his opponent is a man they pulled off the street who's currently trying to eat the podium. Yeah, correct. He wins. But how did this happen? How did we get here? Clearly something happened beforehand to get to the point where we only have this person as the only qualified option when the laws say it should be Maegor who inherits.
Mira, I'm kind of a fan of your position on this, actually, that there's something fishy with Egg's sisters.
Yeah, so there's actually evidence to suggest that Aegon was betrothed to Daella.
Daella or Vaella?
Daella, okay. The one I put the purple circle around.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. So the other one, Ray, Rhae.
Sure.
It's unclear whether she's older or younger than Aegon. If she's younger than Aegon, then fine. She's younger. I'll accept that. But we know for sure Daella was older. It was Ray who tried to give Egg the love potion. Also unclear whether Ray gave it to him so he would marry Daella or if he would marry her instead of Daella. So that's the indication that Aegon and Daella were engaged or betrothed.
Interesting.
Right. And why would Daella have been betrothed to Aegon and not Darion or Arion?
That's actually extremely interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Who does Arion marry?
Okay.
Spouse
Daenora.
Daenora Targaryen.
Yeah, so Daenora was...
okay, so he married up the line of succession from his perspective.
Yeah, so Daenora was Rhaegal's daughter.
Yeah.
So Aelor and Aelora were also Rhaegal's, right? Yes.
So who the heck is... When did Daenora die?
So Daenora would have been Maegor's mother.
Yeah. Where's she? You're telling me... It says, quote, in the book, almost no one spoke up for Maegor, son of Arion. You're telling me that Daenora Targaryen, princess of the realm, raised as a child of Rhaegal, you're telling me that she was not campaigning on behalf of her kid?
Yeah.
Rhaenys sure was campaigning on behalf of her kid.
Yeah, and this is so strange to me that we have two people here who are brought up to only be immediately dismissed. So someone was there to vouch for them, and then they got voted down immediately. Is there again, we don't know the decorum here. Is there a nominating phase at all? Because it sounds like nobody got past the nominating phase except for Egg.
Yeah, Daenora should have been a candidate.
Oh my God, that's a great point.
Yeah.
She absolutely should have been.
And
Hang on, let's
okay, so Daenora is the Rhaenys in this situation where it's like, okay, if you're going to pass over her, give it to her son. Daenora logically should have been regent for Maegor.
And
of
then they
course she would have
want
been fighting for Queen Regent. What the hell?
So this is, I think we've identified the power struggle that Bloodraven's having right here. He must be on the outs with Daenora. It's possible that she blames him for Aerion's death as well. If we're going for a conspiracy here, she might be one of the forces trying to push out Bloodraven and getting like some sort of success, right? And then this is the way to ensure she doesn't get a say in the future.
And I think there's also something weird going on with House Dondarrion here.
Yeah, I just saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, so Baelor's wife was a Dondarrion, and then we were speculating that Mycah was killed because of the Dondarrions. There was something else.
Oh, what the hell? Aerys married Aelinol Penrose, by the way.
Yeah.
What the hell? Why? How did the second in line to the throne marry a Penrose? By the by, how did that happen?
So I'm going to be doing a primogeniture series.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So in this situation, Mycah is kind of like Busy T, because he was crowned ahead of Daenora.
Yeah.
And then his son was crowned over Daenora again. Daenora should have been queen instead of Mycah.
Daenora absolutely is higher in the line of succession.
Mm-hmm. As far as primogeniture goes.
Aerys names Rhaegel, and then some combination of Aelora, and Mycah.
Right. So Aelor and Aelora were both older than Daenora. So that's fine. But he named Aelora.
It says that on the wiki. I was unable to corroborate that in the book. That doesn't mean that it didn't happen, but I did look for it and I couldn't find it.
So that's what's bizarre to me, is why was Mycah just automatically?
Yeah, here's the Dance of the Dragons, right? This is the Dance of the Dragons that doesn't happen. It's Daenora and her Daenora and her and Aerion's political allies up against Aegon and Aemon and Bloodraven and their political allies.
And this is Bloodraven using his like political position that he's in to make sure he has some sort of like legitimate, like, see, we did a whole great council and you lost sort of thing.
And Daella, wife of a High Tower, sides with Daenora, because if she sides with Daenora, she becomes the Princess of Summerhall. She gets Summerhall if they rule in favor of Daenora.
Because
not Ed.
Yeah. And that's probably how the factions break out. Yeah. And then playing up the madness of Aerion Brightflame becomes a political necessity here.
Yep.
Because you need to make an argument that Daenora,
political assassination.
Yeah, exactly. You need to get the people you need to be there. So you do as much like get your own people to show up at the council as possible. And then knowing that they're going to get their people out too, you need to then persuade some of the people who showed up without a horse in the race. No, that kid's going to be crazy. I know they're 1 year old and we have no way of proving that, but you have to trust me. that kid is going to be crazy. And all of a sudden, the whole political messaging makes sense if there was like heavy negative campaigning up front.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah,
want to.
that's Maegor was ahead through both his mother and father. That
Maegor has such a good claim.
Again, yeah. There's no reason for there to be a great council except to deny that baby his spot on the throne.
You guys, I would like
Okay.
I would like to present for the crew one other reason that the Great Council might have been concocted.
Was it just to get a Blackfyre to show up so they could kill him?
I mean,
because I was about to bring that up. It could just be this is all a trick, and Bloodraven getting his intended heir was just a fun little bonus. It was all just to kill one more Blackfyre, as he loves to do. One more for the road.
All right, guys. one more for the road. You ready? Oh no, Amir, before I launch into some true tinfoil, do you have something?
I also have tinfoil. We might even have the same tinfoil.
Oh, let's go. Okay. Oh, there's no way. I'm very excited. Okay.
Because before you launch into tinfoil, I do have one more thing to say.
Oh boy.
I feel like it is electioneering to kill an opposing candidate in front of everybody. I feel like if you do that, like if I tune on the presidential debates that are coming up and like Nikki Haley just like guns down Vivek Ramaswamy in front of me, I feel like that is electioneering at a certain point. Not that they won't be cheering her on, but
see, here's the thing, Zach. He doesn't behead him in front of everybody.
Really?
Mm-mm. He cuts off his head forthwith and then presents his head to the council.
Sorry, if you walk out, if you get called on the stage and you're carrying the next person in line's head as you walk to the podium, I still feel like that should be against election rules.
I got some bullshit for you. You ready?
Go for it.
What happens at the end of the Mystery Night?
I don't know. I haven't finished reading it yet.
Bloodraven pulls down White Walls.
Correct. What happens to Daemon II? Spoilers, Zach. Spoilers. Cover your ears if you don't want to hear it.
He's killed, right?
Oh, Zach's turned into a robot.
Yeah, it happens every stream.
He is Zach. I'm sorry. I'm fully going to spoil the Mystery Night for you right now. Is that okay?
Go for it. I already know who.
Toilet dwarves.
He is not killed. He is taken hostage. Bloodraven fully arrests him and sits him in the dungeons at King's Landing for an extended period of time. With the logic that his younger brother, Hagon, cannot crown himself the third Blackfyre, cannot crown himself the next Blackfyre king because his older brother is still alive. He keeps him locked the fuck up. Hey guys, why might a blood magic sorcerer want to keep people locked up for extended periods of time?
For blood magic sorcery?
What mightn't Daemon II be a useful source of magical energy? Because, strictly speaking, he is full of king's blood. And it's a little ambiguous. I don't believe that we see Aenys the First Blackfyre killed.
Die. Mm-hmm. So this is another head swap.
What we see is a head with an onion in its mouth and the fingers cut off, presented to a council.
And a skull sent to Dorne in an obsidian, or not obsidian, in a ebony box.
Oh yeah, a skull picked clean. What happens to Bloodraven immediately thereafter?
He gets sent to the wall and gets Yeah.
I think that Bloodraven with his big moonstone, which he is using in many of the same ways that Melisandre does, I think that he has glamored over and mind control kidnapped Aenys the First Blackfyre and has him at the wall. I think he took him to the wall.
You think Aenys is cold hands?
I think that Aenys. Ooh, that's interesting.
Ooh.
Oh God, hang on here a second. Wait here. Hang on.
Hold on.
I mean, I do like the theory that cold hands is just like one of the Raven's teeth, but
Yeah, and that's exactly what I think. I think that Aenys the First, you have 500 Raven's teeth all dressed the same. You shave off Aenys the First's head, and you say, "All right, put this uniform on, and I'm going to control you with this fuck off moonstone." Oh no, Gwen got ahead.
I'm just gonna fit the part of the how deep we are in the theory right now.
And Zach, I think that you're particularly gonna like this one. Isn't
Got the tinfoil, I'm ready.
if you were trapped under Bloodraven's control, wouldn't you want to escape?
Yeah, yes.
And if you happened to meet someone in White Tree Village, wouldn't they describe you as a brother of the Night's Watch?
Yes.
I think Craster Blackfyre is where I'm going.
ah!
I want you guys to know that I've been trying to find that for like a year.
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead. Hit me.
Mance Rayder Blackfyre.
Ooh.
Wait a minute.
I just broke Tom.
Wait a minute.
And that's why everybody says he's like Rhaegar and he's so connected to Jon because he's a fucking Blackfyre.
Wait a minute.
Narf.
How old is Craster? Is Mance Rayder?
I thought they were like the same age.
Mance Rayder's like
40s, 50s.
Yeah,
Craster's like 50s, 60s. Hypothetically, they could be brothers. There's nothing that says they're not.
He would need to be. So Aenys Blackfyre, let's assume he's 16 at the council. That would make him 85.
I don't think that makes him Mance, but it could make him Craster.
No. I was saying Mance is Aenys' son.
That's what I was thinking, yeah. That could be, yeah.
Because Mance and Craster both, their father was a man of the Night's Watch.
Wait a minute. That actually really tracks for me.
Mance and Craster could be half-brothers.
Mance and Craster could be half-brothers, both children of Aenys the First.
Or one's a child of Aenys the First and the other's the child of Bloodraven.
Oh, that is also that's a different fun parallel.
Although, well, the problem is that Craster is super dead, so we can't, like, them being half-brothers would work for me if we were setting up for, like, a Bittersteel Bloodraven fight style thing, right?
Well no, what we would be setting up... Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, there's the whole sacrifice element that Craster's already done. And we do have Craster's son.
There it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so we do have Craster's son, and Gilly is also Craster's kid. So Mance would have the same relationship to either of them that Bloodraven has to Egg. Right? An uncle or a great uncle.
Yep.
Which would make for an interesting A very interesting parallel, actually. What absolute madness.
Oh yeah.
So those are my two takes. Those are my two takes that I prepared for today. I managed to get Aenys the First to the wall in a manner that I think kind of tracks.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
it's not the craziest thing I've ever heard. Like,
It's
far from it.
It's the phrasing that they use. His head was presented to the council. And this is a very clear change in attitude that Bloodraven is taking toward Blackfyre prisoners. Like, lock him up, lock him up right now. Do the same thing that you did with Daemon II. It will be more useful that way. But no, I think that he takes him to the wall and uses him as a king's blood tap up at the wall.
That's real tinfoil, but it's also really cool, and I have nothing to argue against it because there's just such a lack of evidence. So we might as well believe what's cool and interesting.
Yeah.
I was going in a totally other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we talked about Daenora and Maegor, right? Last time we covered this topic, y'all asserted that Maegor might be Marwyn. Mm-hmm. And we were like, how would he know that he's a Targaryen? And why would he be there at the Citadel? And we were like, well, maybe it was Aemon. But Aemon would be on the opposite side of the faction. However, we have also asserted that Daella married Lady Hightower. So if Daenora and Daella were allied in the faction opposite Aegon, why wouldn't Daenora have just gone to Oldtown when Daella married Leighton? And we know the Hightowers have been on the opposite side of Dance of the Dragons. What if it was just flip-flopped and now the Hightowers are on the lady side?
Daenora and Daella
go to Oldtown. Daella marries Leighton Hightower. Maegor is put at the Citadel.
Holy shit. The rat, the hawk, and the pig is holy shit. That so in the Dance of the Dragons, there's that thing we talk about. That is a wartime attack that has a lot of parallels to this story that we're talking about. In and around the time that Aegon V is coming to the throne, is there another Dance of the Dragons that is like covered up? Do Daenora and Daella like wage a shadow war after this? Do they support insurgents? Is that what happens?
That's possible. Like, it's weird that we have these like political players, or maybe it's the other way around, right? Maybe maybe those people are like the last remaining like influences that Bloodraven has on Westeros, and like he is unhappy with what happens there. He sours on Egg for some reason, and like is still trying to make plays is a possibility. Famously, if we're like doing real world political comparisons, Teddy Roosevelt famously soured on his handpicked successor. He picked Taft, and then it was like, oh, actually this guy sucks, and then started working to undermine him and eventually ran against him.
And then he accidentally got Woodrow Wilson.
That's how he got Woodrow Wilson. Yep. So even if they're not the ones waging a shadow war, like it could be the case that Bloodraven calls up his old cronies to try and like cause a little bit more chaos, or to make sure his intended heir to Egg gets on the throne. Maybe he didn't like Daeron. There's a lot of people who could be doing sketchy things at this time period, and we have scarce information on it. So,
is that why he became obsessed with dragons?
because there were that could be the case. There were people who were using warfare by other means. They were doing assassinations, they were doing spy shenanigans, they were doing insurgency and stuff like that, and he became obsessed with dragons as a way to have like a power nobody could match, sort of thing. Like, oh, you're an insurgent hiding in the mountains? Well, if I burn the mountains, you really can't do much, sort of thing. Maybe. It's tough to say. There's so much we don't know about how the egg we know becomes the Aegon we learn about.
It's so foggy. I love it. I really love it.
I also the magic element of it. I'm still back on Maegor.
Yeah.
So, and I'm still back on the love potion thing. I feel like that passage, there's so much to it. So who else does the love potion shit? Is Maggie the Frog and Sybil Spicer. And like when Maggie the Frog does it, presumably it's like real. It's real magic. And it seems to be like a temporary mind control. Because that's what people are alleging that was used on Robb Stark the night that he slept with Jane Westerling. That it was like the love potion was a mind control potion so she could sleep with him and then he would feel guilty and marry her. So we have Daella, like presumably Aegon's sisters both are like into the love potion stuff. We have Melora High Tower, the Mad Maid.
Yeah.
Like, both the high towers we currently have are like into magic, which notoriously high towers like didn't used to do that. And then we have Marwyn, who now we're alleging is related to like a cousin to Melora Hightower, because Daella would have been Maegor's aunt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
whoa, this is so complicated now.
Yeah.
There's another this is another recontextualization of Marwyn's statements about blood. That he can't be trusted. Why was Aemon sent to the wall? Because his blood can't be trusted. Not because he's a Targaryen, but because he's not a member of our Targaryen faction.
So then he says, "No more can I."
Perhaps that means Daenerys cannot trust me. Oh, did we lose Zach?
No. I'm trying to stop my camera from cutting out so bad.
So, like, I'm wondering if the Aerion thing happened, if it wasn't a love potion that makes you like mind controllable and suggestible. You know, somebody gives him. If it's not actually a love potion, let's say what they call a love potion is actually a temporary mind control potion. You give Aerion that and then say, drink wildfire. And then he drinks wildfire.
Oh, what a complicated, oh my God, what a horrible assassination.
Or you just put like wildfire in his drink when he's drinking alone and then say, oh yeah, he went all mad and asked for wildfire. But yeah, there's a lot of ways you can get him in there to make it work.
Well, the guy in Clash of Kings accidentally drank wildfire.
Yeah.
He found it. There was dragon. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm like losing my train of thought. There was wildfire under the dragon pit, and some John had picked up a lady, and the floor fell through, and he thought he'd found a bunch of wine and drank some, and the pyromancer tells Tyrion this.
And he drinks wildfire thinking it's wine.
Well, yeah, okay. So, did he turn into a dragon?
No, but I'm saying
speaking.
Oh, dang it. Well, there goes that one.
But so I'm saying like it is hypothetically possible for someone to accidentally drink wildfire. Yeah. We have seen that happen.
Yeah, and in fact, it seems to be set up that you can accidentally drink wildfire.
Yeah.
Sidebar, I like what you hit on there a second ago, Mira. this hadn't registered to me, but it's weird that a love potion is mentioned by name at all in these passages.
Yeah. And it's the only thing Egg really mentions about his sisters.
The one and only thing that we know about them is a comparison to Sybil Spicer and Maggie the Frog.
Well, like indirect comparison because they're not
parallel. I mean,
yeah. And then the only other time we really hear them mentioned, Aemon says, "I wonder if I'll hear my sister singing to her children." So that was again part of our basis for thinking Daella had married Leighton Hightower. Because Aemon's on his way to Oldtown.
Oh my God, is Aemon? Oh, Aemon's a turncoat. Aemon's a turncoat. He was pretending to be in the Oldtown faction up until this council.
Yeah.
And he reveals that he switched sides at the council and then immediately goes to the wall. For the same reason, for the same reason in part that Jon goes to the wall for his own protection. Shit. Why was he allowed to while his time away at the wall? Because his blood is wrong. Interesting.
Well, if Aemon went there knowing that he was going to be going to the wall, that makes the Bloodraven planned on going with him way more likely.
That's a great point.
Like if one of them was already going to the wall and Bloodraven knew there was going to be a lot of political shenanigans and a lot of people were going to have targets on their back, he might have said, "Don't worry, I'll find a way to get sent to the wall. I may have slipped an invite to a Blackfyre. And, you know my history with them."
Because Aemon also could have said, "Fuck it, I'm going to be king," and then named Daella or Daenora his heir.
Yeah, we sort of haven't really touched on that. I am inclined to say that starting half a decade before this at least, Aemon and Bloodraven together determined that they need to be at the wall because of reasons, right? Because there's stuff going on up there. I am inclined to think that they intended to go there, but
yeah. But I'm thinking about what would the Oldtown faction have been expecting Aemon to do? To throw support behind Daenora, behind Maegor?
They would have been expecting Aemon to count the votes in favor of the Hightower faction.
Right. Right.
They would have been expecting Aemon to. Aemon is the one who's holding the chips, presumably, in the same way that Vagon was the one holding the chips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Vagon was like, "Nah, we like Viserys."
This is. We've hit on some. We've pulled like 5 or 6 distinct theories out of this that I think we've into the main series and each other very prettily. Right? We've identified things that are wrong. It's insane that Daenora does not campaign on behalf of Maegor. It's insane that Egg's sisters are not really referenced. It's insane that a Blackfyre showed up at all. Though that's not
really poor. Also, what did you think was going to happen, right? What led you to believe that this was for you? It'd be...
Maybe Bloodraven just lied about it. He was just like...
What if he didn't show up at all?
Hey, dude, I'm intending to throw my weight behind you.
It would be I don't know, I'm struggling to even think of I don't know. It'd be like if they needed a new head coach for the Bills and Tom Brady said, "Actually, I think this is a spot for me." Oh no, they all hate me?
Oh,
Who could have predicted such a thing? If only there was some sort of warning.
Gosh, if only something had happened to make me realize that Bloodraven didn't like me.
I can't believe at this event where only Targaryens are being considered, they're anti-Blackfyre.
There shouldn't have been a council at all.
No, there should not have been. And it's weird that it's like almost a masterstroke of what I would assert Bloodraven wants to happen. All happens right there. He kills another Blackfyre. He gets because like at the very least I know from the Mystery Night, he gets to see Egg be incredibly smart and competent. And if you think he wants the most like competent, politically shrewd person to be in power, he got what he wanted.
There are so many weird disappearances. Like, I'm still also back at the Rohanne Weber thing. Like,
yeah. There's God. There's so much stupid. There's so much weird.
It's almost like there's just assassins out from like 2:30 to 2:33, just like ganking people.
Is that what this is? Is that what this is?
Hold on one second.
We don't actually know if Daenora was still alive. We don't know when she died.
Well, we have to remember this is a woman who mysteriously disappeared, so we have to assert that she's Quaithe without evidence.
You know what's fun? I can kind of make that work. Wait, hang on. Sidebar. What the hell is Shiera Seastar doing during all of this, by the way? What's she up?
Maybe she's the one assassinating everybody.
That's possible.
That's fun. That's fun. I like it. You guys... No, please.
I was gonna say the guy who like died in his tent, but this would have been before Jaehaerys, so.
You guys, it's 2:19 a.m. in the morning, and I am like we keep on ringing the conspiracy sponge, and like stuff keeps coming out.
Yep.
And I think that at some point we need to be like, okay, I need to take a break and get a different bucket.
Yeah. I agree.
I think we've exhausted this one.
And yeah, I think the real interesting stuff here is everything leading up to this is wrong and weird, and it's wrong and weird in a way that screams Bloodraven intended this.
Yeah, see, Zach, that's Amir. I think I disagree. I'm on Zach's side. Everything is weird. I do not think that we have exhausted this. I think that there's so much more that, like, at some point we need to stop.
And also, the stuff that's weird is increasingly outside the scope of the election. Yeah. I think we have a plausible explanation for why the results are the way they are. It was either one, always intended, or two, a power struggle that one side lost, and then their cause was erased from history because it was politically inconvenient. One or the other, possibly both.
And I like that Aemon was the hinge of that. No, more what I was saying is like a lot of the paths I want to go down, we just don't have any information. Like, you know, we don't know when Daenora died. We don't, Daella and Ray's spouses aren't named, you know, so like everything that we could use to build on this is just absent.
Yeah, we're purely speculating that she married a High Tower at all.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not pure speculation. We got that because of Aemon, because Aemon heard her sister saying to her children, which presumably was in Oldtown.
Right. And there's all the other, there was a good amount of evidence. And that one artist, hold on. I think Laura Tyrell she goes by. Like other people have also come to this conclusion that one of Egg's sisters married Leighton Hightower.
Oh yeah. Oh, fucking fantastic.
It makes just too much sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, I don't feel as crazy building on a theory that like a whole bunch of people separately have concluded. You know, it's kind of like it's not canon that the Hound is alive at the Quiet Isle, but like so many people believe it that I'm like, we can build on top of that. It's stable enough. Lady Laura Tyrell, shout out to her. She's on Twitter. She makes art.
Oh, and I like that theory is just like coming back to me now. It's also built on Jorah's description of his ex-wife.
Right. And there's the kid Baelor, which
Baelor Breakwind.
Right.
Baelor Breakwind. Yeah.
If this is a faction that felt like Mycar. Oh, and so this is where I keep coming back to like something going on with the Dondarrions. You know, Daenora might have a chip on her shoulder about Mycar.
Why?
Because she was ahead of him in the line of succession. Daenora was Rhaegal's daughter. Rhaegal was Mycar's older brother. In terms of primogeniture, yeah. So Daenora, as the child of the third son, would have been ahead of Mycar, the fourth son.
And Matari. Okay, here's another like weird little lineup. Did we talk about how Baelor Breakspear was married to a Dondarrion?
Yeah. I mentioned it earlier. And then we speculated that Mycar was killed fighting the Dondarrions.
Yeah. I'm sorry. All the processors are crashing.
Yeah. No, it is like 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And like I've been trying to hold the entire Targaryen family tree from like 150 AC to 250 AC in my head all at the same time. Which is what? Oh no, what?
The hawk and the pig and the rat
yeah.
that killed Daenora's siblings, then the other faction.
They then killed. They then kill Egg's kid. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is what? Like I'm like, is there a fucking shadow war happening?
Well, okay. So what I think it is the this hawk, pig, and rat were the OGs, and then the Oldtown faction cooked up a hawk, pig, and rat to go after Egg's faction.
Ooh, they like baked up boogeymen. Ooh, that rocks.
It's if you want to get into like real like information warfare stuff, there was a hacker who went by Guccifer, and then there was Guccifer 2.0, which was the Russian government, and they did it to grant legitimacy and misdirection towards their leaks they were providing, because you know, if it was just an anonymous person who did it, they could have said, well, this could be the Russian government. But if all of a sudden you put a, you know, other known entity who has goals contrary to yours as the identity, it's a piece of misdirection that people can latch onto. If there are people who did things that would have been very detrimental to your cause, and you want to do something that's very pro your cause and get away with it, dig up the names of those people from that unsolved murder, attempted murder, right? Oh, no. It can't possibly be that this was advantageous to us. It's the rat, hawk, and pig, right? We all know them, even though this happened 30 plus years ago and they might be dead.
Or it's an attack on the whole family.
Yeah, it's also possible that there is just another. That it must be the case, right? The rat, hawk, and pig thing. There must be some at least moderately organized force acting on the Targaryens in this time. It might be Targaryens doing that. They love that. But it could be an outside force. You are correct. Rat, hawk, and pig. That's
well, no, what I'm saying is like people would perceive it as an outside force. People who think of the Targaryens as one unit, we think, oh, the rat, hawk, and pig are fighting the Targaryens. Meanwhile, like that would be a great cover for the Oldtown faction. It's like these are Targaryen haters, clearly.
Oh, and that adds some deniability to the Oldtown faction because the rat, the hawk, and the pig originally the
attacked their side.
Attacked Daenora's siblings.
Yeah, it would be like if a blood and cheese faction came after Aegon the Third or his kids.
Yeah. It would be like, obviously it's not connected to you. It's blood and cheese, given all the things that happened. But that would be a clever political play to cook up a new blood and cheese to give yourself some legitimacy, like Zach's example. Do
y'all want another Dance the Dragons parallel? I'm sorry.
Yes, I do. But this has to be the last one. In fact,
this must be the last bit.
In fact, if you can make it exactly 1 minute and 30 seconds, we will end this video on 22222.
Okay. So Daenora's mother, Rhaegal's wife, was Alice Arryn. So
not.
Oh, no, 100%.
There's more Aarons? God damn it.
Yep.
So Rhaegal's wife was an
Alice Arryn. And Daenora's mother was an Arryn, just like Rhaenyra's mother.
That is another parallel. God damn. And like, I think this is all lampshaded by the quote in the book that Bloodraven wanted to avoid another Dance of the Dragons, even though it appears from the outside that there is no evidence that anything like that was even possible. Huh. Any closing thoughts, Zach?
I think we explored a lot of great avenues of this, and they're all worth more explanation or exploration. We don't have time.
Yeah, I think that we've found some we've found some good things and found way more questions. Thank you guys very much for joining me. It has been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
No!